As a landscape photographer, there are like so many composition rules that you can use. There are like the rule of third, there is the golden circle, the golden ratio, the diagonals, and so many more that you can use while you are on site. And this is always complicated to know which composition rules you should use. But in general, by practicing it and by going on site, by choosing few of them, maybe the rule of third, maybe the golden ratio, you will be able to master it at some point. And at some point it will become like very natural, like a guitarist that just plays his guitar without looking at his finger on the board. And this is something that will come naturally to you, coming to a place and looking at the scene and realizing, okay, this is what I have to do here. So really important to practice the composition rules. And in this video, I want to speak to you especially about one composition rule which is really important in my opinion, and this is the golden circle. This is a composition rule that will help you make your photograph look very smooth and with curves and like really fluid. So it's a very important rule that I think everyone should know how to use it. And if I want to share it with you today, it's also because it's a little tricky to use, and there are like few specificities and few situations where you should really use it. So we're gonna switch to the computer in a moment, but before that, I also want to tell you that you can use an app, a very helpful app, which is called the Golden Ratio app. And this app really helps you save some time while you're on site. You can just like look at your scene and play with the golden ratio, make it look as you want, and make sure that you have the composition you want, or if you should at all use the golden ratio. So really important to use it when you are on site. All right, let's switch to the computer and look at some few examples. So the first thing you need to do when you want to look at the composition rule in Lightroom is to use the cropping tool. So for this, you will type R on your keyboard, and that's the shortcut for the cropping tool, and then you will be able to have this rule. Then based on this, you can just press O and look at any of the composition rule that you want. And for us, we are interested in the golden circle. And if you don't know it yet, the golden circle is a rule that can be used in various ways, whether horizontally, vertically. And if you want to look at it that way on your laptop, then you should press Shift O. And then this will help you switch to the various composition way of using the golden circle. All right, now let's get going with the examples. So the first category that I have here is using the golden ratio for panorama or horizontal photographs. And here I have a beautiful panorama that I took in Senya Island in winter 2023. And I was really lucky because there were like one person just standing there. And basically what the golden ratio does, as you can see, is that it really takes the curve all around the picture and really bring the focus point here on the cliff where the person is standing. And of course, the light just adds up a lot of atmosphere to the whole photograph. To me, this is really incredible what it does in such photograph. Here we have another example of how to use the golden ratio, but this time it's in another direction, that direction. And this is a glacier in Switzerland, close to Zermatt. And basically by placing yourself close to the ravine and use it to frame a little bit the bottom of your picture, then you can create this spiral effect and this flowing effect and drive the eyes here to the top of the glacier. And here basically we have clearly the eyes go rolling from the bottom part up to the top of the glacier. Another example that I have here, it was a picture I took in Bretagne, and similarly we have here the lighthouse, which is the main focal point, and we do have the spiral that just drives the eyes towards the lighthouse and with the flow all around. Another photograph that I have here, this was in Namibia, and this picture is just a picture taken horizontally, and it's not a panorama anymore. And similarly in this one, so that must be natural. Basically, we do have the tree here, which is the main emphasis of the main subject of the photograph, and we do have the spiral going right to it, and we have a lot of empty space here, which basically makes really our eyes coming down to this tree. The next photograph, it was in the Lofoten Island, and if we look at it on that way, then we do have the spiral that goes directly towards this small part of stones here, and really helps to guide the eyes and really makes the whole photograph look more balanced. So we have that part that acts as a curve, and this is kind of our subject with a beautiful background, of course. Then the second way you can use the golden ratio rule is by using it vertically. So that's one example that we have here. This was in France, in Etretat, and basically by using it in that way, we do have the focus here on the cliff and with the rolling cliff all around the picture. Then we do have here this in the mountain, so that's another example of a vertical use, which is kind of similar to the other one, just that we have a mountain. And here, something a little different that was also in Namibia, where we have the focus on a tree which is in the foreground, and then we have the spiral that also rolls with the tree that are placed on the background. This is a really interesting composition that really changes from what we from the other one we saw before. Now, there are a few situations where I really think the golden circle should be used, and I'm gonna share with you now 5 or 6 different way of using it while you're on site and when you're in certain situations, so that you have like really concrete example. And the first one is using it with waterfalls. And here I do have this picture I took in the Jura region, and where basically I placed myself close to the foreground and close to some rocks so that the spiral would end up right on the waterfall, but also frame the whole scene with a curve that goes all around the waterfall. And we have a similar type of picture but in a vertical way here, and that still does it with a similar feeling. Now we have that one which was in Switzerland, and if we just turn it around a little bit, then we see that there is like the curve from the river, and here the Zermatt mountain, which is right on the subject on the left hand side, and that really gives an interesting effect, a little bit unusual but really interesting effect on this photograph. And finally, this waterfall, which was caught in the south in France in the Alps, and then where we have also the river and the waterfall, which is more or less in the spiral, and it doesn't have to always be perfect, but that also helps to give you guidance in your photograph. Now the next one is to use it in cliffs. You want to use this when you are like really close to a cliff, because cliffs are usually rounded or like circling and curved, and you can really use it very easily. And in my opinion, that's really something that you should take advantage of. And if we look at this one here, this is also in Etretat in France, and we also have this curve going right to the cliff here and following it all the way and driving your eyes from left to right and then back to left. So that really gives a nice effect. And similarly at the same location but in another place, then we also have a similar effect here, and that's just, to me, really fluid and really balanced picture, and that's really helpful for this. Now if we look at another picture, and now we are talking about seaside or close to water. Then we have this scene. It was in the Lofoten Island, and we clearly see that the water is following the path of this of the spiral of the golden ratio. Of course, the mountain here doesn't really fall into it, but that's still okay because we still have the feeling of having the curve going all around. And here that's a picture from similar place, from the same place actually, but a different foreground a little bit further away, and we have kind of a similar feeling with the mountain still standing right at the front, but the foreground being the main subject and the main part of the curve. Another picture I took at a lake in France that also shows that the middle part, I would say we could go up to the middle part of the golden ratio and see that the curve is really enhancing the foreground and really giving kind of a rhythm and kind of the path to the whole picture. That's really interesting. Now, the next one is about man-made structures. So I don't have a whole lot of example here because I don't take a whole lot of man-made structures, but the one I have, I think, are good examples. So this looks a little bit like what we just saw before, and we still have this curve like really enveloping the whole scene and really here catching negative space, but really enveloping the whole scene. As we can see, the curve is really following the stones and then the huts. Then we have here, this is the Ponte Vasco da Gama in Portugal, very well-known bridge. And if we look at it that way, for example, or the first way as it was before, then we see that also here we have a rhythm given by this composition rule, that it really targets here the main part of the bridge, and then the rest of the picture really unfolds right in front of our eyes. The next topic is a really important one. This is leading lines, and those who know me already know that leading lines is my thing. So we have here leading lines. This is a glacier in Switzerland, and we have all these leading lines guiding your eyes and really making a circle up until the mountain, which is still on the background. I guess it's still there at least. And we have here another example, similar example but much more closer to the ground here, where I was really emphasizing with my wide angle, and we have really the curves from the beach here that are like rolling over and really ending up right on the mountain, which was on the background. The next example I wanted to show you is actually this example is could be made in man-made, also in leading lines, and it works for both. And it's a little bit cropped so that it looked a little bit like a panorama, but initially there's just a basic normal horizontal picture. And similarly here we have the leading line, and if we place here our golden circle, it really ends up right in the Mont Saint-Michel, and we really see that there is a flow starting from the left top corner, ending up right in the Mont Saint-Michel. A really nice effect. And the final one that I wanted to share with you is framing. When you want to frame your pictures, and with a tree, with a trunk, with rocks, with whatever, and that will be really helpful to use this rule. And you can see it here. This was in Torres del Paine in Patagonia, and basically you have like the spiral being directly in the Torres here in the morning for sunrise, and the rest of the spiral is really around the trunk of the tree. So really in the location we want it to be, and really driving our eyes, of course, towards the subject. The next example is about also the framing, and this was a waterfall. So basically having here a frame from a tree, and like guiding our eyes right into the main subject of the image, which is this beautiful waterfall on the background, which was in the Jura region in France. And once again, this spiral guiding the eyes all along the picture and making it like really fluid and really curvy, so really appealing to the eyes in general. I think this was this were a lot of examples, and feel free to get back and to look at them when you want, or if you have some doubt, because I guess some of them are really interesting, and you might be actually located in some places where like there is like water, maybe some cliffs, maybe some more waterfalls, maybe some more mountains, leading lines, whatever. Then you can start playing around and see exactly what fits you on your daily basis or when you go out to shoot. And don't forget that of course you can combine things like I said, waterfall with framing and so on. Then you can really use them around and combine the various way of using the golden circle. So I know that was a lot of informations and a lot of pictures and a lot to talk about. I wish I could have spent more time or to describe each of these pictures, but yeah, I want to keep this video kind of short enough so that you can watch it quickly. And I really hope it was helpful, that you had fun to watching it, that you learned something especially, and that you feel a bit more confident now to use the golden circle when you will be on site. So with that, I wish you good luck with your photography and see you next week for new adventures.